Namaste, everyone. Yeah, the reverb is out, right? Reverb? Yeah, taking it out. Okay, fine. Namaste, everyone. I cannot begin to describe what an honor it is for me to be here and present whatever I have to say in front of you. And thank you to Guru Murthy ji and to Vivekananda International Foundation for having me here. It's indeed a huge, huge honor. And of course, I'm extremely nervous right now, so I'm sorry for that. Now, first of all, I would like to say that I've been enjoying the session since morning, and every speaker has been super articulate and has presented some really, really good ideas, really good thoughts, has put forth before us some very important issues. So I would just like everybody to give a big round of applause to all the speakers who have presented since morning. Everybody's been wonderful. Now, all of us are here. I mean, of course, this is a very enlightened community, and I'm very proud to be a really tiny part of it. All of us are here for the singular purpose of making this world a better place, and nobody can contradict that. Everybody's here just to make this world a better place. Now, to give context to my speech and what I'm going to be talking about, I need to go back a little bit and describe my journey to here. Now, by my journey to here, I do not mean the plane ride from Bangalore to Myanmar. I mean my journey as a musician and my philosophical journey. Now, ever since I remember, I've always been a musician. From my childhood, I've always been a musician. My ears were always more important than my eyes. For example, all my classmates were very fascinated by television. They were very fascinated by cartoons. But for me, I remember from a very young age, I was only fascinated by my music system. I would listen to a whole lot of cassette tapes because that was the trend at that particular point in time. And I would decipher the music. I would try to listen to every single musical instrument separately. I would try to figure out who's played the instruments, what culture do they belong to. I would try to learn about different people through the instruments that they play and through the countries that they come from. Now, it was through music that I fell in love with our natural world. Now, music and nature have got a very, very deep connection. And actually, at the end of the day, all music did start from sounds within nature. All musical instruments were built from materials within nature. And I realized that I loved, at a very young age, I was a very weird child, just to give you full disclosure. But at a very young age, I realized that I feel far more comfortable with animals than with humans. I would look at various animals, I would look into their eyes, I would look at lizards, I would look at snakes, I would look at insects, and of course the regular animals like the ones which you see every day like dogs and cats, and I would see personality in all these animals. And that's what happened. So I was always a conservationist, I was an environmentalist, and I was a musician. Then I became a professional musician, and in 2015 I was honored by winning the Grammy Award. And so this was after making 14 albums and after 16 years of being a professional musician. Now, after I won the Grammy Award, I was very, very fortunate that our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, he invited my wife and me to meet him for a private meeting at his office. Now, with 1.3 billion people in India, it was a huge, huge honor that I was called for this meeting. Now, what I thought was going to be a short photo op meeting of 10 minutes where, like just a photograph and, and congratulations, for which I would have also been extremely honored. It ended up being an almost hour-long philosophical discussion. Now, what our Prime Minister told me was that you're a conservationist, you're a musician, now you won this biggest music award in the world. Now, why don't you bring these two lives together? And why don't you walk the talk? Why don't you just dedicate your art to music? And he told me, why don't you dedicate your art to environmental consciousness? And this was the push that I needed. Now, music is a very powerful language. Everybody knows that. It's a cliche. Everybody says that music is a universal language. Music is a powerful language. But it's absolutely true. Because music is not only a powerful language for communication, so it's not only a powerful language to communicate something to an end listener, but also a very powerful tool to retain that message within the consciousness of a listener. Like what Rajlakshmi Akka mentioned about religion being a very important tool in environmental consciousness and faith being a very important tool in environmental consciousness. I absolutely agree with that. But in addition to that, I think the arts is also an extremely important tool in environmental consciousness. And that's where I come into the picture. And I'm very glad that our Prime Minister recognized this. Now, coincidentally, this particular meeting happened 2 days after the first Samvad meeting. the first Samvad conference. This meeting happened just 2 days after that. So our Prime Minister obviously was very enthusiastic after that particular meeting, and and he was quite fired up about it. So that is why the first thing he told me was that you have to meet this gentleman in Chennai called Mr. Gurumurthy, who's seated over here. So I went to Chennai and met him, and through Mr. Gurumurthy, I met General Nirmal Vij and the team at Vivekananda International Foundation, and we came about, and through their guidance, we came out with this album known as Shanti Samsara, my epic environmental album. So these are just some pictures I just put together of the awards. This is the picture with Narendra Modi ji. This is the cover of the album Shanti Samsara. Now, I've got a couple of these. I've got a couple of copies of this album. Anybody who wants it for free, you can just take it from me. So that's an offer to everybody seated over here. Now, the album featured 500 musicians from over 40 countries, from countries like, of course, India, United States, Australia, Turkey, Algeria, Senegal, Sweden, Korea, China, Vietnam, Tibet, Azerbaijan, everybody coming together to celebrate the natural world and to create awareness on climate change. The album was launched by our honorable, so these are some of the musicians who have participated in the album from different countries. Just going to slide through that. So the album was launched by our Prime Minister and the then French President François Hollande at the Climate Change Conference in Paris at the end of 2015. And I then went on to performing the album at the United Nations General Assembly twice, earlier this year and last year. So we performed the whole album to the set of world leaders there. And now I'm going to play you a small trailer to show you what the album is all about. So here's a video. Climate change is absolutely real. Climate change is human-induced. Climate change is affecting all of us, and our actions are affecting countries on the other side of the world.
Seize the day, a time to take a stand for the earth. All of us, we're gonna make a way. One song, one song, one song. Reach out, let us join hands and sing this love song. One song, one song, one song. Reach out, let us join hands and sing this earth song.
Thank you for that. Now, while watching the Paris Climate Change Conference, which has now become very famous because of Donald Trump, so while watching that particular Paris Climate Change Conference on television, one world leader who absolutely caught my attention was President Anote Tong. Now, President Anote Tong is the president of a country that most of us have not even heard of. It's known as Kiribati, and it's in the South Pacific. It's 21 inhabited islands in the South Pacific. So what he said, what he appealed during his speech to the 190 nations present, was that make a resolution, all you countries here, make a resolution that ensures that my people stay above the water. Now, that was quite a powerful statement, and I'm very ashamed to say that I had not even heard of this country before I actually saw that speech. So after doing a little bit of research, I realized that Kiribati is a country, as I mentioned, South Pacific, 21 inhabited islands, and they are very low-lying islands. In fact, they're the lowest-lying islands in the world. And they are going to be the first country to go completely underwater due to climate change, and this is irreversible. In the next 30 years, all 21 islands are going to be uninhabitable. And in the next 80 years, the tallest point in any of the islands is going to be underwater, which means that in 80 years and during some of our lifetime, hopefully mine, the part where Kiribati exists on the globe is going to have to be painted blue because the country is going to cease to exist. So imagine how powerful that is. So I visited Kiribati because I needed to see this for myself. I spent 2 weeks over there. I engaged with their population. I fell in love with their culture. They've got an indigenous culture, indigenous language. The beauty of the country was amazing. And this country lives within nature. They don't have any known industrialization. They don't have any carbon emissions. They do not take more than they can give back to nature. They're an amazing, amazing culture which has been living in isolation. But the problem is that they're low-lying islands, and they are suffering the consequences of our actions. Because if all our countries could actually build domes around our borders and keep our carbon emissions within our own countries, then countries like Kiribati have no problems at all. But it's our carbon emissions become their carbon emissions, and since they are low-lying islands, they are going to be the first to go under the sea due to the ocean levels rising, and they are the ones who are going to suffer. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to show you some pictures. Ironically, a heart-shaped island which is going to go underwater. This is some pictures of Kiribati, how beautiful it is. This is what is left of their capital, that is Tarawa. Look at this. This used to be a full-fledged island. Like, there were no gaps in between, but this is what it's become. This is another village, which was a hugely populated village, and this is what's happened to it. This is the president and me during our interview. So I'm going to play a short clip where I'm standing on an island which used to be a complete village with a large population, and look what it is reduced to right now. Hi everyone, Maori, namaste. I'm Rickey Cage, and today I'm in the spectacularly beautiful island country of Kiribati. Kiribati is suffering the most catastrophic effects of climate change. Let me show you this village which I'm standing in. It's a village that used to be thriving, it had a population, it had a beautiful culture. And let me show you what it is reduced to now because of man-made climate change. Take a look. So that's what's happening with Kiribati. So I collaborated with a couple of musicians, and I made a song for them to create awareness, and I've been performing that at all my concerts. The person who sung the song, a lot of you will know, Annie Choing Drolma. A brilliant, brilliant singer. I'm a huge fan of hers, and I got a very good opportunity to perform with her. So here is the video showcasing the beauty of this country and showcasing what we're going to be missing, because the effects of climate change are irreversible on Kiribati, but all of us can look at this as an example and to showcase that climate change is real, it's happening right now, and our actions are affecting people on the other side of the world. Oops.
The science is very clear about climate change. Within the century, our entire nation will be underwater. As in some countries, you have a cyclone, a hurricane. Over time, the land remains there, the water recedes. In our case, it does not. It's a disaster that doesn't go away. Our reality is that we have communities who already have to relocate. They've left their villages. We have communities which are on the verge of doing the same thing. And so for us, climate change is not something that's likely to happen in the future. It is happening. We are facing it. I've always referred to our situation as those countries on the front line, because when we fall, there'll be another front line, and that front line will keep moving back until those countries and those people who believe they will not be affected will eventually be affected, and that is the reality we are facing. I think as human beings, we are being challenged. Should we do something about it? And I believe, yes, everybody has the responsibility to do it. Because the question that we continue to ask ourselves, what is to become of our children? How will they continue to live without that link with the land and the spirits therein?
So all these children you see on the screen, they will never be able to grow up in their own country. By the time they're about 20 or 25, they won't have a home they can call their own, they won't have a country, they'll have nothing, and it's all because of our actions. So moving on, since I do not have much time, I wanted to talk a little bit about coexistence, because every individual is connected by an intricate web of consciousness, which transcends space and time. Each individual life plays a crucial role in maintaining the balance that serves all equally. Now, coexistence is key over here. In many parts of the world, we have problems with animal and human conflicts. I'm going to particularly talk about human-elephant conflicts. And so basically what happens is that elephants live in the forest, and we live in the cities. We sometimes encroach into forest land for whatever reason, for infrastructure, for development, for creating agricultural lands, for building our homes. And this causes a warlike situation between the elephants and humans, where there's loss of property and sometimes loss of life on both sides. Now, as a result of growing human populations and increasing fragmentation, as a result of growing human populations and increasing fragmentation of elephant habitats, human-elephant conflicts has replaced poaching as the major cause of elephant mortality, making the Asiatic elephant endangered today. Which means that poaching is not that big a deal right now as much as human-elephant conflicts. Now, in case of human-elephant conflicts, when there's a conflict between a human and with a human society and elephants, then what happens is that rehabilitation and relocation of the elephant seems to be the most logical solution. Just capture them and relocate them to another area. Of course, it's definitely better than shooting down the elephant, and I'm very glad that India has got, that is, my country has got some amazing laws when it comes to conservation, and we've got some amazing respect when it comes to wildlife. But is capture really a good solution? Even though it is logical, is it really a good solution, and at what cost? So I'm going to play you this music video sung by Hariharan from our country. It's a Sanskrit song, and this is going to showcase you the entire capturing process, and it's going to talk about elephants. Sorry about that. There seems to be a little delay when the videos are playing. Just a second.
शिवरूपाय वृक्षराजाय ते नमः आयुर्बलं यशोवर्चः प्रजाः पशुवसूनि च ब्रह्मप्रज्ञा च मेधां च त्वं नो देहि वनस्पते
Laudes Domine Deus meus, propter omnes creaturas tuas. Laudes Domine Deus, propter nostram matrem terra. Be praised through all your creatures. And through Mother Earth.
मण्डलाय अनन्ताय नागराजाय नमो नमः मणिभ्रात्फणात् सहस्रविधृत विश्वम् भरामण्डलायानन्ताय नागराजाय नमो नमः
So when we speak about coexistence, it's only between various parts of the human race, and that's what coexistence is, the general meaning of coexistence is in this world. True coexistence is living peacefully and in harmony with every single living and non-living entity on this earth, whether animate or inanimate. Mahatma Gandhi, our father of the nation, said that there is divine in every atom of the world, whether animate or inanimate. Now, at the end of the day, we protect only things that we love, and that is the basic nature of humankind, that we only protect things that we love. And we love only things that we understand. So I have made it my mission through my music and through my art to make everyone fall in love with our natural world and fall in love with our biodiversity. Hopefully that love will encourage all of us to protect, to preserve, and to sustain. Now, if biodiversity is a measure, let's go to a happier moment now. If biodiversity is a measure of the wealth of a country, then in my opinion, I might be biased, but India is the richest country in the world. So I might be completely biased about that. So I wanted to make an instrumental version of our national anthem. And in doing this instrumental version, what happens normally when it comes to national anthems and when it comes to patriotic songs all over the world, when anybody makes a video, it's usually the celebrities of that particular country, or it is politicians who are there in the video, or just regular personalities. So what I thought of doing was to showcase the true inhabitants of our country. Now, who are the true inhabitants of our country? The wildlife and the forests. They are the true inhabitants of our country because they have lived in our country for millions of years before humans ever set foot in our country. So they are the true citizens of India. So all that I would say is fall in love with our natural world, make everybody else through your art, through your preachings, make everybody fall in love with our nature, so that through the love, let us protect, let us conserve, and let us sustain. Now, if you would indulge me for a moment, let's rise for the Indian national anthem. It will start, I'm sure. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.